All right, so in this case, what we're going to be looking at today is ratios and proportions. So that's what our notes for today are. Oops. Ratios and proportions. And this might be a review from what you've seen before, which is awesome. And so the first thing that we're going to cover is a ratio. And so a ratio is the comparison between two like quantities. Is it easy to see or is it hard to see? Okay, and one important thing about this is another way of saying this quantities is terms. So meaning just a different way of two different numbers that we're looking at. So both of these terms must be the same units. So that's very important. They have to be the same units. That means that I can't compare centimeters to inches. They have to be the same exact units. For example, if I want to compare the height versus the width, this is my width, this is also my length. If I want to compare both of those, and let's say this one is 13 millimeters, well, this one is 9 centimeters. Can I compare both of them? No, right? Because they're both different units. So, in order for me to be able to compare this, I need to make sure that they're the same unit. So this is where we have to remember. Oops. 1 centimeter is equal to how many millimeters? 10 millimeters. So, if I'm comparing both of this, I need to make sure first that they're in the same units. This is millimeters, this is centimeters. So, in order to make centimeters into millimeters, I just need to multiply by 10. And so this is 90 millimeters. So if I'm comparing the width to the length. And what I'm saying is 13 millimeters to 90 millimeters. Or I can rewrite this as 13 90. And another way of writing this is just 13 over 90. So I can rewrite it in those three different ways. As a fraction, as saying what they are, and just as numbers. Cool. Okay, so one of the other things that we have to know from here is, as I look at these ratios, I can also simplify them. So as I simplify a ratio, consider the following example. The ratio 12 to 24. And so, as I look at the ratio 12 to 24, and I want to simplify this, all I have to do is think about it as a fraction. So how do I simplify that fraction? Yep. I can divide it by 12, since that is the number they both have in common, by 2 or by 3, whatever number you want to simplify it by. We just need to make sure that once we do that, it's fully simplified. So we got 1 or 2, 1/2. And another way of just saying this is 1 to 2. So a lot of times as we do this for most of the math in this class, you will notice that we'll start just like this with different numbers like this. We'll try to remember how to do the multiple steps on simplifying, or what it means to be direct or an indirect proportion. And then as we move on, we'll start applying them to whatever it is that the project we're going to be working on. So that's the goal. Cool. Any questions about ratios? Alright, so let's look at the next one. So we got that one. The next one that I need to cover is proportions. Okay, and so what proportion says, it's an expression that states the equality of two ratios. So let's think about this. Let's say I'm looking at this rectangular prism. So let's say that I have this right here. Maybe I should have just made it a square. And I'm trying to compare it to something that I'm going to be creating later on. But before I can create this big one, I need to make sure that the little one that I'm looking for actually does all the functions that I needed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create something that is a little bit smaller, just like they do with houses or buildings. When they create the first thing that they're going to show everybody, hey, this is a scale model of how the building will look. And so that's what you're doing with proportions. You're looking at something that is smaller. You're looking at it in a smaller setting before it gets actually built into something way bigger. So that's what a proportion is. For example, we could say that this is, what kind of numbers do I want? .25 meters. While this height right here is 0.35 meters. And then when I'm actually looking at the actual one, what I want this base to be is .5 meters. I don't know right now. And perhaps I don't know what this is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a proportion between both of them. So 0.35 over 0.25 equals, and then I'll look at the other one, x over 5. And now I just need to solve for my x, which in this case I'm cross multiplying. And cross multiplying with the other one. So I got 0.25x equals 0.35 multiply by 5. Alright, so what's 0.35 times 5? What is it? 1.75. Cool. And so what's my last step? Divided by, yep. So x is equal to there you go. So this measurement right here has to be 7 meters. Cool. So I still got a couple more minutes. Okay. Any questions on the proportions? So you're just setting them up and then you're working them out. The first couple problems are just going to be solving them from here. The other ones are going to ask you to actually solve them. Alright, so here, I'm going to ask you to try this one.